Okay, we're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. It is Tuesday, January 31st, 2023. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Morning unborn.
Okay. Do we have any minutes and reports received and filed?
No.
Commissioner Committee liaison reports, upcoming meetings and events.
The Solid Waste Management Advisory Board meeting today. We've got the big grant reviews, and that's at 12:30, so hopefully we're done by then. Cole County Communities Thursday. Cole County Extension Annual Dinner Thursday evening. Eastside Business Association Friday morning. FFA dinner Saturday. That's about it.
I have a meeting this afternoon with Chief Schofield. Wednesday is Lions Ham and Bean.
It is.
In Chile.
And I do have some extra tickets for sale if anybody needs any.
I have four of us a couple of times on my calendar. Do we have anything with them this week?
Yes, sorry. And we're going to meet with one of the subrecipients, Salvation Army.
Yes. Okay. West Side Business on Thursday. And then I have Friday JC Rep multimodal discussion. Is that right? Okay.
I had the chamber annual meeting this morning I went to, and then I've got the ham and beans, which I'm not going to be able to work. And I had RSVP'd to the extension dinner, but again, I don't think I'm going to make that. So that's all I've got. And we have appointments by commission, appointment of Rachel Bushi to Campo Technical Committee.
Yeah, I put that on there. We had Paul Stoner, right, was on the committee, and then he came off there, so Rachel had volunteered to do it, and I think we have an application and stuff from her if you want any other information. So.
Okay, I'll for this order of the Cole County Commission resolve to appoint Ms. Rachel Bushi to the Capital Area Metropolitan Planning Organizational Technical Committee.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, presentations from staff, consultants, invited guests, contempt of Constitution discussion by Carla Malone Steck.
Hey, Harry.
Good morning.
A little graphic for you. Are we a constitutional republic or a democracy? That's the question.
I think we're a democracy.
Do you think we're a democracy?
Yes.
What do you think, Harry? Jeff, what do you think we
I was
are?
going with Republic.
Republic, thank you. We are in a transition, so it doesn't feel like a democracy, Sam, but we are a constitutional republic. Okay, so that gives us constitutional rights. Today I provide my final presentation and request prior to impaneling a common law grand jury. As you know, I don't plan to return to fraudulent courts with bar attorneys. Under Article 3 of the Constitution, the judicial power extends to resolving only cases or controversies. This ensures that courts do not issue advisory opinions, but rather adjudicate actual disputes between adverse parties that are capable of resolution by a court. The case or controversy requirement also prevents the judiciary from intruding into matters reserved for the executive and legislative branches and protects the courts from becoming referees in every dispute between political branches. Petitioning the legislature, the obvious course, according to statute 536.050, number 9, was presented to the commissioners, but no effort was provided by the commission to help with this process to restore my land rights. The opportunity to correct the plat at the expense of the offending government has been proposed. Again, my constitutional rights have not been restored as of today. Those who agree today to remedy the unconstitutional taking of my land rights without due process of law will not be named in the contempt of Constitution indictment. I will in the near future enjoy my constitutional right to impanel a jury of my peers under the common law grand jury. Arbitration has been sought with no effect. The injuries caused by the departments you directly manage and now cover for continue to hide the crime. You are informed of the crime precisely today as follows: noble, tyrannical, malicious contempt of Constitution. Contempt of Constitution has no statute of limitation, ordained the higher power than contempt of court. If a trial by one's peers occurs, a right provided in our Bill of Rights, no court can rehear the case. And I have a definition, I'll send you all this later, the definition of noble, tyrannical, malicious contempt of Constitution. My land rights were taken from me by the county without due process of law, guaranteed by the 5th and 14th Amendments Due Process Clause. Departments of the county under your management, Shannon Cleathermos of Public Works and Mike Sapp of the Cole County Health Department, forced me to capitulate to their demands, even after the mistake was brought to their attention. Shannon refused to process my plat without rule or regulation requiring intervention by DNR. I informed my commissioners beginning in 2017 of the mistake, yet they continue to cover for these employees of We the People. These same employees have been rewarded with raises and retirements instead of penalty. Local government has failed in its chief design, protecting the people's constitutional rights. In September of 2016, Shannon Cleathermos and Mike Sapp incorrectly interpreted an expansion of a residential development requiring a 3-month costly process. Upon completion of this process in December, the victim's research is reported to all parties. They have added a new parcel that does not exist. Instead of backing off the demands increase to include further denial of approval of a plat by Shannon Cleathermos. January 4th, 2017, the victim is forced to capitulate to gain approval of plat from county. 21 land rights officially taken without due process. March 17th, 2017, 9 rights returned at the cost to the victim of $200 per hour attorney during the process of first scheduled administrative hearing. June 12th, 2017, Reserve Tract A1, now officially removed from DNR jurisdiction. Victim returns for second administrative hearing. 2 more rights restored to victim by DNR department head after SAP interprets a chart from DNR on GPD from an engineer's report is incorrect and denies the victim's application for OWTS. Corrected approval letter now has a chart showing 3 lots rather than 1 under their unlawful GPD jurisdiction. It is this letter the AHC ruled on it became the record for the appeals court. The dates clearly show no due process prior to taking of land rights. A simple change in boundary has suffered 2 administrative hearings, Clean Water Commission hearing, 1 civil court, and 1 court of appeals, who based their opinion on the record of the AHC. The method still remains an on-site wastewater treatment system approved by the Ordinance County, not DNR. The Organic Act of 1871 is soon to be publicly voided, and the original constitutional republic reinforced, giving we the people justice via the grand jury of peers. Some courts already honor this constitutional right of we the people. And the duty of the grand jury, if anyone's unalienable rights have been violated or removed without legal sentence of their peers from their lands, home, liberties, or lawful right, we, the 25, shall straightway restore them. And if a dispute shall arise concerning this matter, it shall be settled according to the judgment of the 25 grand jurors. The sureties of the peace, Magna Carta, June 15th, AD 1215-52. Okay, so anyway, today I've presented you guys, you commissioners, with a graphic, and that's why I asked that question, what are we? Harry and Jeff had that answer correct. Sam thought we might be a democracy, but if you look at how that chart flows on a constitutional republic, it's God first, then the individual, then the Constitution, then the government, public servants, statute, law, and corporations. So If you all would like some time to contemplate fixing this, that would be fine. If you have any questions for me while I'm here. But it could have been a very easy fix when I called Shannon through the years to get the plat changed to where it would definitely look as though there was only 2 lots rather than 3. It just never happened. So it still needs to happen, and the question is, did you want to take on that responsibility of paying for that, or do you want me to, as this is my last presentation to you all, just go with the opportunities that I have in the future to make it happen with the Constitution?
Well, just with the history that I've gotten from it, Carla, and I've emailed you about it, that I'm just gonna stand behind our guys at Public Works and at the Health Department on
What are you
this.
standing behind exactly?
As far as how this all, because it's a lot longer story than this began in
Sure is,
2017,
yeah.
because there are certain ways that state statute governs how we have to handle these things, and it was out of our hands. as
Statutes are
far-
under the Constitution. The
Correct.
Constitution says that you have to have due process before you take
And
your
I don't wanna
rights.
go through all this today
Yeah.
with this, Carla. I mean, I think we've done
We
this
got
with
such a big
Public
audience
Works.
today. Shoot, we may as well.
Well, the information from our guys at Public Works, they do a great job with this. I know you and Shannon don't get along.
I've
but
never
Shannon's a-
even known Shannon until
Shannon, he's
Larry
a-
Benz hollered and threw me out of the office, so.
But Shannon would never do anything to infringe on your rights on your property. He knows the book, he goes by the book.
He's
If
not
there's
going by the
something to look at.
Constitution. I didn't get due process of law.
So,
But that's okay. So anybody else want to, because it's your opportunity today to avoid future conflict. So, meaning that you'd be named in this contempt of court,
Okay.
contempt of Constitution. So you do have that opportunity today to address it and make it right, so.
not at this
So you're
time,
not
I'm
interested in Sam? You're gonna stay
I'm
with
not
the-
prepared to address this today, no.
Yeah, so did you want to delay it, Sam, and have some time to think
I'm
about
just,
it?
thank you. This is, my thing is, I'm,
So no, you're not going
No.
to address it, is that
No.
the answer? And
Yes.
Harry, what would you like to do?
I have no comment, no questions.
Okay, so I would assume that that means that you're not gonna take care of the correction to the plat?
I have no comment and no questions.
So I guess that
not.
means.
I'm a no.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
thank you.
We've talked about it.
Yeah, thank you very much. We'll see you later.
All right,
Okay.
thanks, Carla.
keep moving along. Bids and contracts. Signing of the agreement with Missouri Department of Social Services for IV/D County Reimbursement Grant.
That is me, Sarah Hamilton, and I had sent it to Jill last week, and I don't think that. I'm fine with it. You're having
Okay.
problems with it. I have several different documents that need to be signed, and I understand that you sign them and that they're witnessed by one of you all to sign. And I've marked them, but,
Okay.
and Jill has looked them over.
Okay,
Motion to sign the agreement with the Missouri Department of Social Services for the IV-D County Reimbursement Grant.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, approval and signing for CI Technologies Sole Source.
This is just the sole source approval. It's already ran in the paper. It's for the Sheriff's Department for their IA Pro and Blue Shield software. You can jump in.
Yeah, so we want you to first approve the sole source. The second item would be signing of the contract. There were some terms that were incorrect that Jill did not like, so we made some modifications. We have not received that back yet from them. I expect that today. I would ask that the commission approve the contract pending the review of Jill on the terms of the contract.
You good?
Mhm.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve and sign the CI Technology sole source contract pending review by the county attorney.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Point of clarification, do they first have to approve the sole source, or is that,
There's two different ones, the sole
Yeah.
source and.
I
So
thought you
I-
said we did the sole source already.
well, we put it in the
We
paper?
put it in the paper.
Okay.
So we need just approval to sign the.
Oh, there it is. Right below it is signing of CI Technologies
I may have jumped ahead. I'm
contract,
sorry.
so,
I thought you said that we advertised it, but we didn't approve the sole source.
Right.
So I'll make a motion to approve the sole source advertising for the CI Technologies.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Then we have signing of CI Technologies contracts,
That
which
was
is that.
We've done
That's what you already approved.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Sole source ad approval for Butterfly Network, Inc.
Thank you. Great commentary. So this is a sole source for our portable ultrasound that we're going to be implementing with us. Butterfly IQ has some patented technology in which allows us to use a single probe connected to an iPad to perform ultrasounds in the field. They have plenty of documentation that states that they are a sole source, so we're just asking for approval to run this in the paper, and then we'll bring this back for contract approval in 10 days. This is in the 23 capital budget for us. So.
It's just a sole source approval, right?
Correct.
To run it in the paper, yeah.
Correct.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the sole source ad for Butterfly Network.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Approval and signing of JC Rep contract for services.
So this would be for the 2023 annual contract for services with JC Rep for economic development activities. Slight updates and modifications from previous. Basically just to reflect and working with Jill, more of the strategy and objectives of JC Rep versus the previous contract that we assumed last year, which more or less reflected economic development as a service of the Chamber of Commerce. So not really much contextual changes or edits, but just a better reflection of JC Rep.
That's what we already had budgeted, right?
Yeah, there was no cost, no increase.
Right. Good. I'll make the motion to approve and sign the JC Rep contract for services.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
I think you only got us about $5 million in 2022, so I expect.
We'll be hunting more.
I expect you to double that in 2023.
There we go.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Approval of EMS 911 phone system hardware.
So Brian can comment on the technical aspect. So this, we talked about this a little bit last week. You approved the professional services for the engineering piece of this. This is the hardware portion. In order to connect the EMS Communication Center into the 911 network, we've discovered that we needed to do some upgrades. Basically, that involves upgrading and or replacing the current network router. So there's two quotes here. One quote is for another port on the router that we currently have that will allow us to interface with the city. The other quote is, in addition to that, replacing the current network router, which is at the end of its life. We had several discussions on where to fund this from. In my opinion, there's three ways to do it. One, out of EMS contingency, another being the 911 fund in GR, or some other county IT infrastructure, because replacing the router is replacing county IT infrastructure. I don't necessarily have any preference. The one that I need to do at a minimum is getting this extra port, which is $2,702.94. If we wanted to replace the router at the same time, which is at the end of its life, that's an additional $6,376.19. Did I miss anything from the technical piece of it?
I think, didn't you say the sheriff was an option too, as far as paying for this?
Yeah.
That would probably be more, would be better than using the 911 fund. That's not what that fund was designed for. The law was passed for a 911 center, for answering 911 calls. Chief Hoyt's organization does not answer 911. That money, remember, we talked about this in the budget, that money is set aside for the 911 center to answer the 911 calls to help upgrade it. And we even talked about, my concern would be that $100,000 or how much of it is be transferred to the PD, and then, I'm not saying the city would do this, but they would short the sheriff's or the police department by $100,000 or whatever, So my request was to let them come up with projects to utilize this money, and then they could approach you and you could pay for it outright if you wanted me to run blocker, or if you wanted, since he does answer these emergency calls, he could even be the blocker for you, I don't care. But that's what that money is, that's what that money is set aside for. It was a surcharge that was put on phones specifically for the upgrade and maintaining of a 911 center.
So both of these together, chief?
What we would,
6,000 on one and some change and 2,700.
if we wanted to take care of the complete upgrade at this point in time, it'd be both of those together. If we wanted to go the minimal route, we could do the 2,000, whatever the $2,800 quote is. That would get us by, but at some point in the near future, we're gonna have to replace the network router anyway. If we wanted to wait and put that into a capital budget at some other point in time, we could probably do that. But this does give us the opportunity to take care of two birds with one stone.
I wasn't, are you able to open yours off of the attachment, or have you seen it? There's, okay.
No. I'm sure if we waited, the router would be much less expensive in the future, right?
Well, we can improve that 911 system, and
Yeah.
I'm fine with both of them, but where the money's gonna come from, I guess, is the question then. If we're gonna do that just from their contingency or capital, or,
If you're not willing to do out of that 911 money, if you want us to research that a little bit closer to find out exactly what that can be used for, then I would just go for contingency out of 650, out of his capital, until we discovered what you want to do with that other money.
I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, it's not something that's going to greatly impact our budget, so I'm fine with either way.
yeah, it wasn't a high dollar issue.
650 fund is
I would do them both. And J.C. Rep's gonna find us like $20 million for the 911, so in the long run.
Okay. Debbie, you can give that back to chief. Or do you have it in front of you?
No,
Oh,
that's
okay.
I
it.
think, yeah, those are the two contract, yeah, there's nowhere to sign, but we should probably get a signature on it.
We'll do the motion then off of that.
just
Okay.
saying,
Yeah,
sorry about that.
Yes.
All right, I'll make a motion to sign both the contracts with Huber Associates for the NIM EMS quote LH 28937 and the router quote for LH 28967.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, and both of those were on contract, so,
Okay.
contract purchase.
Okay, we come down. Approval and signing of contract for DYS grant for juvenile.
Morning.
Morning.
I have a contract for a tracker. Tracker provides an extra layer of supervision and services to youth that we serve in the community. This is reimbursed in totality by a grant from Division of Youth Services. It's $20 a week, $20 an hour for 10 hours a week.
Is this an additional employee, or are you just awarding her?
No, so we removed them as an employee and made it a contract only. We've had this service for 2 decades at least.
Could you just give a little more detail of what, when you say tracker, what that means?
The tracker meets with youth in the community up to 10 hours a week, does random check-ins to their home, meets with them in school, just does extra contact for high-risk youth.
Okay, so these are, just to back up and look at it from further, you have individuals
Yes.
that you want to keep track of,
Yes,
and a tracker keeps track of individuals that you want to keep track of.
yes, high-risk youth.
High risk, all right. Okay. I'll make a motion to approve and sign the contract for DYS, the grant for juvenile tracker, $20 per hour, 10 hours per week.
Yes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Signing of the agreement with Maximus for the county's indirect cost study.
Okay, as you guys remember, we do the indirect cost study every 2 years. They come in and evaluate all the departments, they bother everybody for information, which Maximus has done it for a long time now. They've received the bid several times that we bid it. The amount is under the bidding policy, plus we never get anybody else to bid on it. So I would suggest we stay with Maximus, and they're not increasing their rate from 2 years ago. So
Just to refresh, the, under, excuse me, the dollar threshold, is it 12? What, 12,000?
Yes.
Okay, so and we're under that.
yes,
All right.
6,500. And we use this report for a lot of things in the county.
I'll make a motion to sign the agreement with Maximus for the county indirect cost study report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approval and signing of nonprofit scrap tire cleanup and disposal.
So the thumbnail description of this is we have a place that is a property here in Colon County that has a lot of scrap tires. And, you know, during code enforcement, Joe has discovered that DNR kind of has a tire collection event. So if we pay for the tires to be disposed of, we will get reimbursed by DNR to clean these up. So we just need you to sign this scrap tire cleanup and disposal reimbursement application so we can pay to get them cleaned up, and then DNR will reimburse us once we pay for it. And Joe already has an entity that will do the cleanup. Then we'll have an invoice to send to DNR to get reimbursed. And he can answer more questions if you have it. I think Jeff's been pretty involved in this too.
Yeah, this has been going on for a year, and I thought DNR, I still think DNR should have been taking care of this, but Joe's gone above and beyond, and I appreciate you finding a way to get this taken care of. It's through DNR, but we're gonna have to pay for it up front, and then they'll reimburse it later, so that's why we're up here today. The homeowner, the landowner, the person that's in trouble for the tire dumping, is incarcerated apparently, so they couldn't really go after anybody either. So we were trying to help the area out and clean it up.
Joe, does this take a certain size pile of tires to qualify, or is it?
I'm not sure, but I mean, I think it's like an illegal dumping is what they, you know, typically do. And we have, this is approximately, we thought originally about 150, now it's maybe 170, but somewhere in that neighborhood of tires. The cost is $4.50 a tire, $4.50 a tire for disposal and everything, and so $765 I think is the estimate.
Okay. I guess the neighbors have had something to say about this over the years, right?
They're interested in getting it cleaned up and getting taken care of, and we tried going down that road of having them be the entity to submit this application, and it just,
Yeah, it was complaint driven,
Sure.
so that's where it all arrived, so.
And we'll probably run it through the code enforcement fund, or I think we'll have to be able to do it that way. Because it's just gonna be out money and then back in money, so.
Okay. Go ahead,
All right,
I'm
I'll make a
good.
motion to sign the nonprofit scrap tire cleanup and disposal agreement.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Definitely, we might need your help filling the application out.
Okay.
Okay.
And next is
Thanks, Joe.
signing of additional terms with MODHSS pertaining to workforce for COVID.
So
efforts.
last week you guys signed the contract for that workforce contract. It's like $278,000. They added an Exhibit 3, and it has to do with some of the federal requirements that we say that we're going to adhere to, like the Clean Air Act and the Solid Waste Disposal Act, along with seatbelt use and texting while driving. So in order to receive the federal money, we have to say that we will comply with federal law. So that was not signed last week, so I just need a signature for that. And I have the page flag for you to see it. Sorry about that.
See how that's worded, you good?
I think I'm good. There's nothing onerous in there that we wouldn't be doing anyway, right?
Correct.
Okay.
We just have to say that we're doing it.
Yeah. All right.
Not saying that worked, not onerous, but.
Right.
All right, I make a motion to sign the additional terms with Mo DHSS pertaining to the workforce for COVID efforts.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Do we have any unfinished business? New business, accounts payable review.
And I'll push that to the next week. We don't have any data for this week.
Okay. Next is vacation of certain platted right-of-ways in the area of Henley.
Morning.
So this application has been a long time in the coming. We found out upon some investigation into by Ms. Paige Griffith that part of a property structure was built into part of the right-of-ways and old alleys in the old town of Henley. As we found in the past, in these old towns that were platted, you know, turn of the century, like this one was plat book 1, page 80, so that gives you a clue way how far back it goes. You know, where exactly these alleys and right-of-ways were not known. So, and it doesn't help that on the GIS map, it shows the ownership going to the center lines of these alleys and right-of-ways, and they've never formally been vacated. So, after we kind of knew what was going on, Paige had a survey done, so we knew in the area which areas need to be vacated. And then she talked with some of the surrounding landowners to get the petitioners so we could go forward with moving under the correct state statute to have in these areas that we were looking at to make sure we had people on both sides of the right-of-way to follow state statute that requires that for these petitions for vacation of right-of-way. As can be seen on, I've got a couple aerial photos here too that just kind of shows you what's going on. And this is all over in these old towns, especially these ones that have been defunct for years or, thank you, you know, that's upside down. Didn't do that on purpose, I swear, not this time anyway. So, but, you know, when they don't know exactly where these right-of-ways are, you know, people start using them as their own. So in this situation, we'd like to be able to clean up this area, particular area here, and not do the whole town as you know, at one time, as we've been directed by the county commission in the past, kind of take care of these problem areas one step at a time so we can focus on these areas at a time instead of doing blanket areas like that. But this would especially help, it's Mr. Felber, I think, to this, or no, Rourke to the south.
Yeah.
It's Mr. Rourke to the south and Ms. Griffith there, since they have structures built into those old right-of-ways. If we can get this cleaned up, we can get them vacated, they can move forward if they want to sell them in the future and actually have title to those areas there. So this is not unusual. You know, these things we've done in the past. Did some in we've done them in the town of Eugene, Osage City. Did a pretty big one in Marion about 10 years ago with a bunch of the old alleys up there. So we would ask that you please vacate this by court order.
I'm good with it.
I'm-
We've
yeah.
done it several times. St. Thomas, I think.
So the property owners on each side of the middle of the street pick up 10 or 12 feet or something? like
One
that?
half of the right-of-way, yes. So if it's a 16-foot platted alley, 8 foot goes to the one to the north, say if it's an east-west alley, 8 foot to the southern owner. If it's say a 66-foot wide north-south, you know, 33 to 1 on the east side, 33 to 1 on the west side.
Got it.
So this
Makes
will
sense.
especially help Ms. Griffith be able to move forward with some plans she has on the property, for the property there.
Right.
And I think 10 months we've been working on this now?
About 14.
14.
13.
14
I
from
don't
the
know.
initial
Yeah,
start,
right.
and then once she approached the county about the end of February, March
Yeah.
last year. You know,
Yeah.
since in the state statute says we can only do these at the quarter or the term. So if you don't get, you know, if you got survey work takes a couple months, and then you're trying to get a petition together for a couple months, it adds up. So this will be culmination on this one, in this instance.
So the one court order takes care of everything that
In
is
this
in front
area.
of us right
Yes,
now?
yeah.
Okay.
And they're attached to that, there's a
Yeah, I
visual
see.
on the back.
And we expect more at some later date?
I would say probably, we're,
Okay.
you know, as word travels, it's like, well, can I get this done too? Sure, let's start the
Sure.
process again.
Okay. I'll make a motion to sign the court order for the vacation of certain platted right-of-ways in the area of Henley.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
How many of these do you need?
Just one signed
we all-
copy, and then the
Okay.
clerk will have it recorded.
Yeah, we
for us.
all need to
Do you
sign.
want these copies in.
Those are for you if you want them, or you can recycle them, or whatever you wish.
Okay.
I'll do that as soon as I can.
Inclement weather policy for essential work.
Thank you.
Hello. So I think that, I'm not sure when the inclement weather policy was put in place, but a long time ago. And every time it comes out, there's the exception for like sheriff and EMS, and then it says certain like health department personnel. And I think since I've been there, there's always been this question of, well, who does that apply to? Who's the essential personnel in the health department? And it was probably written, 20 some years ago when there wasn't the technology that we have now where most people can do a lot of their job from anywhere. I would say that if we have inclement weather, the essential personnel are me, Chris, our emergency planner, and probably our environmental staff that might have to respond to a truck wreck that involves food or some other public health, facility involving food. So that doesn't necessarily apply to the health department building itself. So I guess my request, it's not actually in the policy book where it talks about the essential staff, but my request would be that like health department staff be left out of that exception, because our staff are going to get to work and open the building. We typically always have somebody there to answer the phone. The rest of us are on call. We're answering emails and responding and doing what we need to do. But we would like, if staff can't get to the health department, to be able to make up that time or take leave. Knowing that we're going to respond to the emergencies we need to, and we're going to do what we need to do. But I don't think we need to list the health department, or it just says certain health department staff, and nobody knows who that staff is listed as essential during an inclement weather event. So
That's
it's
you.
just a little confusing.
You're essential.
Well, thank you, but I can, thank goodness for technology. I can do just about everything from anywhere, especially because we have such wonderful IT staff.
Oh, wow. I'm paying for everything.
I think sometimes if I put on there too, in that email, if they have questions about whether they're essential or not, they have to ask their department head. So, but if you want to exclude them from that email, then that's fine too.
I don't think I mind excluding them, doing what you asked, but on some days, somebody is essential and on other days they're not. For instance, if they had something, essential to do that day, and you have to use your judgment as a manager,
Right.
department
And-
manager, that, hey, on Tuesday, you've already made an appointment, whoever you is, and you're going to visit with these people, and this is very important. That day, you're essential
Correct. But
for that hour.
I totally agree, but during an inclement weather event, the stuff that our staff does is not necessarily essential unless it is a truck wreck involving food, a facility that has, adulterated food that we have to respond to, or a lodging facility, yeah, it's an emergency, and our staff definitely would respond. I think there's just been some confusion in our building about, well, who is essential and who has to respond here or there or wherever, but it's laid out in their job description, and they know what they need to do in any emergency event. So I would just ask that we handle that internally.
For like all the departments, or?
No,
No,
I'm just
we're-
asking
we're
for the
just
health
talking
department
health, right.
to be excluded when those emails are sent out about the inclement weather. Just leave, it says certain health department personnel, just leave that part out. We'll take care of it internally.
I thought everybody kind of handled it themselves anyway.
When the emails come out, it always says, except for EMS, sheriff, and certain health department personnel, this inclement weather policy applies, is usually what the email says. And I think, like Debbie said, it would probably started a long time ago. Yeah.
So you want to be like the commission office, you just want to be in.
We'll take care of it
Yeah.
internally. We'll make sure that people do their job, but I think there's been some confusion in my office about who's essential, who's not, who's expected to be there. We typically have someone there to answer phones unless it's just totally bad, but somebody always gets in, it seems like, or, we take care of it.
But are we actually changing something? Because I kind of see this across the board for
Well, the
other elected officials and.
Well,
I don't know,
but
because in the actual policy manual, it doesn't name any staff. It just says that, when you say.
So that's why I
yeah.
thought it was kind of open to you handling in your own area. And I agree with you, Harry, that there's different personnel at different times that are essential. So do we need to change anything, or?
I would grant Christie her wish to be treated like everybody else except EMS and the sheriff. You use your best judgment.
And Public Works.
And sorry, Public Works.
Well, I say even the, I think the email
Pages are
usually, this is on page 36.
I'm just trying to remember, I don't remember seeing the implement policy or the email that comes through that says the health department's got special things that's got to comply with.
Yeah, it's usually in the
Because
email.
I'm not seeing what we're changing here.
Just leave them out altogether.
Yeah,
It's-
which
it's just in
basically
the
makes-
email, yeah.
That's basically the easiest way, just to leave them out, so that you are the same as our office, you're the same as
Right.
the clerk's office.
I think it became an issue, if we go back to the emails, it's just when COVID happened, then it was essential. So other than that, it wasn't before, if I remember right. They were treated just like any office facility. Juvenile, they're a 24-hour facility. Sheriff is a 24-hour. EMS is, and obviously Public Works is, they're open during the weather issues. So I can let the health department off altogether, I can put them in there, but if you don't consider them essential.
I would just leave it off the inclement weather policy, just leave them, so they're equal to you.
Yeah, I
And,
think, I think you're right. I mean, I think it depends on the event, whether we have essential staff or not. Inclement weather, not necessarily. If it's a public health emergency, yes. So
Right.
that's where the distinction would lie.
Since we put this out in the universe, if we have bad weather before the end of February, it's your fault.
Last year,
had
we
bad weather
scheduled all the
yesterday.
inclement weather on Thursdays in February,
Yeah,
didn't
that
we?
was very handy. We knew what to expect.
That's right.
Just Thursdays.
So when we don't have our phones transferred, so you're always here, somebody's always here. So,
Okay, we usually have somebody there. I just
I-
want to clear up the confusion.
yeah. And can you transfer calls to somebody?
Well, I think that, I mean, that's maybe a Brian question. If we know before we leave that day, yes, you can transfer your phone to your cell phone or whatever. The problem is if it happens overnight and nobody can get there. But typically, somebody is there. We can always put on Facebook and put on our website, hey, we're, call before you come because staff are having trouble getting to the office. We have ways to put information out. And typically, if it's not that bad, we don't, or if it's that bad, we don't have very many clients, but you never know.
Do you have in front of you what the last email that went out, how
No, I did
it
not
read?
print the email.
I mean, all you're asking is when that email goes out, that health department not be
Correct,
included.
correct,
As essential people for that
Right.
weather issue.
correct.
I have no problem with that.
Thank you.
So does it take some kind of a,
Yeah, I would just,
As long as I know your direction is
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
During weather, they're not considered essential, but during health, they
well,
are.
yeah.
what I'm saying is you are essential, maybe. Use your best judgment.
We will, yeah. That's what we do now. It's just that email always confuses some people.
If the email is confusing, let's change the
Thank you.
text of the email.
Thank you.
It did include them, so if you are an
I was
essential
told to.
personnel in the following departments, sheriff, public works, EMS, juvenile, building maintenance, EMA, and the health department. Okay, that's what I was trying to figure out, I wasn't following exactly, so. Oh, Brian just sent me one too, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Oh, that's
Thank
the
you.
policy, I got.
Okay.
Policy.
Discussion of salary adjustment from original 2023 budget.
I'm just going to give you a copy of my talking points.
Thank you.
Mark, I think I emailed these, but I made a copy too. Thank you for your time today. I know it's a busy agenda, and I know Sam is wanting to wrap this up. He's uncomfortable today, but I'll do my best here. I know this last year during the budget year that compression in salaries was a concern for everybody. And I was really pretty happy with the budget. I was happy with the stipulations that commission set forth for all of us to follow. It was the 4% COLA based on current salaries of 1/1. It was using the 1.5% pool as a way to fix salaries, excuse me, in our departments. My understanding, and maybe I need clarification, was that that was not a merit. It was a pool, not a merit, which I used it as. I did request in my budget, excuse me, for consistency with the lead deputy position. And it was my understanding that I was to use the pool to make that correction. I'm gonna have to get a drink, sorry. And the budget on January 5th, the commission closed the 2023 budget, signed the court order, and my understanding is that budget was enclosed. The letter was read by Commissioner Bushman, and I was pretty happy with it, and I followed the stipulations set forth there by the commission on that budget. And then on the commission meeting on Tuesday, January 17th, in my mind, the budget was reopened. Oh, thank you. In my mind, the budget was reopened when the commissioners approved a threefold issue here. The Public Works Department was approved their salary schedule with additional employee raises. They were approved $100 per year for a service award, which is a merit. And I'm coming back today saying we need some consistency. I don't understand the reopening of the budget on January 17th. And I too believe that all employees should receive the $100 per year for a service award. That is a merit. That was an addition after the budget was closed. I didn't know the budget could be reopened, or I would have been here on the 17th. So I'm just asking questions on what we can do for all employees to receive a merit award. I'm trying to make it quick, so.
Well, I wasn't here last Thursday, and I called in for the Amendment 3 thing, and got caught in on the backside of this, and couldn't hear real good, but, you know.
You were hard to hear.
Come to find out, you know, we changed, and I abstained from the vote because I didn't have the information, and I couldn't hear. But then come to find out, it was changing the salaries for Public Works based on the current salary, not the 1/1 salary, which I thought we really worked on during the budget time to make sure that we tried to do something fair, and a lot of them had mid-year adjustments, and that's why we went to the 1/1 adjustment. So I agree, I don't think that's fair to the other employees. The service, paying another $100 or $200 per year for people that have been with us, loyal, and put their time in. I mean, we talked about that at budget time too. And I think if we're gonna do that, I really think it should have been county-wide for all the employees. So I see where you're coming from. I did not vote for it, so I'll have to leave that up to Sam and Harry if you're requesting your employees are getting the same treatment or.
I'm requesting all employees get the same fair treatment. I guess I'm confused on, when the budget is closed, I didn't know you could reopen it. Why was it reopened on the 17th? I worked really hard to get mine done so I could be at a RAM convention in August because there was a deadline. And all of the things I requested needed to be resolved before budget was closed. But if it can be reopened, I'm all for it.
I mean, we make budget adjustments all year long, so the budget really wasn't opened up. It kind of sucks that we had made adjustments 3 days after we approved the budget, or however many days it was, but, you know, it happened.
And adjustments
so.
were made also in September for a certain department. And that was during budget time, so I guess I'm not sure why we could do that when it's
Yeah.
supposed to be included in budget, so.
And that's why we talked during budget time on these adjustments. We're doing it based on the 1/1 salary, the 4% raise. So I get where you're coming from. I totally agree. I don't know if y'all
Well,
have
my
anything.
comments would be like this, you know, there's always semantics. I've never used the term, heard the term before that a budget is closed. A budget is adopted.
Okay,
All right, a budget is adopted. That's synonymous with if your term, the budget is closed. Okay, but budgets are adjusted. I mean, we adjusted budgets all the time. We're on a budget adjustment number X, right? And you, anyway. So it's never sealed, signed, sealed, and delivered. If they were, when the sheriff came to us in mid-year and said, look, I'm losing deputies and they're running out, I can't run the jail. We've got to make an adjustment, and we bought that. And you know, I guess the adjustment train cranked up pretty good at that point.
I apologize, I did use the wrong word. Closed would not be the correct term, you are right. I think what I am basically going on the threefold issue here of singling out a department, one department at the expense of all others, when a merit of $100 per year for a service award was added, was adjusted.
Here's kind of a where I'd stand on something like this. If a department or an elected office comes to me as a commissioner and says, look, my people are leaving, I can't keep them. The sheriff said that, juvenile said that.
The reporter said that.
They're leaving?
Yes,
Okay, you've got empty slots?
I did have.
You filled them?
I did. And then I
Okay.
had one potential to leave. Out of 5 employees, one left, one potential, which was in my budget of trying to amend the salary for the lead deputy. I didn't get the extra 1,000 to make it consistent with another department that did receive.
So you filled the position?
Yes, I did.
Okay. The sheriff couldn't. Public Works was losing people. And, you know, I met with the Area 5, what do you call the MoDOT's, what do they call it? Not Area 5, Central. District. You know, they poach from you, you poach from them, and they can't fill their positions right now in maintenance. So the fact that one part of county government has sold me on a requirement that adjustments need to be made, I'm not going to push that on everybody and say, okay, so Public Works has convinced Harry, the commissioner from the Western District, that they need an adjustment. Therefore, everybody gets it. I'm not buying that. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to buy that. Each has to make their own pitch. When juvenile came to us, they didn't come to us and say, we need an adjustment here because the sheriff got one. They said, we need an adjustment here because our people are going to state government and they're leaving us.
So am I understanding that when you set forth stipulations during the budget time to be followed, that certain departments do not have to follow those?
No?
The 4% COLA was based on 1/1 salaries, and that was not followed across board.
With very rare exceptions, it was.
So there are exceptions.
You could probably find an exception or two. Yeah.
But I mean, that argument too, Eric's been able to fill their positions. Are we losing people? We're losing people. They are jumping ship. There's people always looking to either improve themselves or what other benefits or whatever. And we're not gonna compete with this state. We just did what we thought was a good raise, 4%, and then the 1.5%, we made some other adjustments, and now the state's talking about 8 something.
8.7, 8.7,
So,
yeah.
and even if it's not all of that, if they go 5, we're not gonna be able to compete with them necessarily. Nothing against Eric or Public Works. I didn't agree with those adjustments last week. I like their career path plan that they're doing. I really think we need to look at that countywide. But the problem is we need to do that at budget time, and I really thought we did that at budget time, was talked about doing something that's kind of fair countywide, and then to come back 2 weeks later, or however many days later, and make another adjustment. It just didn't seem fair across the board. So
Well, had I known that the 1.5% pool, and it was stressed that it's called a pool because it's to be used to fix salaries, had I known it was a merit, I would have made it across board, because everybody in the recorder's office deserves that merit. And they did not receive it because it was based on my understanding of the January 5th, and it was repeated in the budget order when Mr. Bushman read that letter, that it was a pool and that we are to be conservative. And I'm on board with that. I agree with that. But when I listened to the meeting on Tuesday, January 17th, when all of a sudden it's not a pool, it's a merit. So I requested from Debbie, I requested a amendment. I said, do you have a requisition so I can amend my paperwork? I just need a direction, and she said, no, I don't have that. You need to ask commissioners for that. So I'm confused, I guess, on what that was, a merit, a pool. I think it should be consistent.
Well, we don't treat all of our children the same here. We look at EMS. They have their own salary schedule. And so
Yes.
you can't say if it's fair for one, it's fair for all. If it was fair for them, then we have to have a salary schedule for everybody. Then we don't argue about it. We just say, look, whatever the schedule says. So make your case, but don't make your case, in my opinion, the way you are. This 4% and 1.5%, that might have been the genius of Otto coming up with that. I didn't want to give a full 4% cost of living for someone who got a big bump during the year. I thought, you know what we'll do? We'll just move it back to the beginning of the year. It takes a little of the heartburn out of the way that they got a 10% raise in July, and now we're going to give them 4% on that 10%. No, let's don't do that. But let's keep this 5.5%. Hey, we've just freed up some money for the elected officials and the managers to decide who gets what. And if it's a merit and everybody gets it, well, to me, that's not possible. Not all of your children are the same. There's some that work harder than others and do a better job than others. So if you got a 1.5% for everybody and call it a merit, I think you've just flipped merit on its head.
I agree with you, sir, but where I'm coming from here is, and this is minus the EMS department, minus the sheriff's department. I am unfamiliar with how Parks Department works. It might be minus that department. I am talking about the rest of the county employees. As far as the $100 per year for service support, it should include all employees. I just feel like you are excluding others at the expense of one department here. And I understand what you're saying. Yes, I agree with that. I was very happy January 5th with that being said, but when it changed, I think you have different salaries based on different skill level. So we're talking two different things, unless I'm misunderstanding you. You're talking about a skill level. A merit should go across board. Everybody's skill level is based on their salary.
I disagree with we've got our favorite kids, Public Works is our favorite child right now, because we went back to January 1 to base our percentage raise on. So in
Which is
using
not
that
what
argument,
was said in the
so-
stipulations.
So yeah, that's why I wasn't crazy about it. If we did it, I wanted to do it the same for everybody, and I agree, fair is not always equal. So there's different ways to be fair in different areas, so.
Is it fair? Is it fair that I came back after the meeting on January 17th that I did come to finance and I asked Debbie for a requisition to amend my paperwork based on my understanding that it was merit, that it was not a pool, that it was not to be used to adjust my salaries. I mean, I have 5 employees. I lost 1 and 1 was pending. Public Works has 44. They lost 1 person. So if you do the percentage, mine was at more risk.
They've lost several of them over the year though, but we've been able to fill them. It just stinks to lose them because then you have to train them, and when you have to retrain 5, 6, or 10 right before the big snow, it is tough, so.
And Thursday, when we had that big snow, I had somebody driving 25 miles to get to work and she was here at 8 o'clock. Roads were clear by 10. I could drive a truck.
We'll take you.
You got a CDL, they'll go right over there and they'll sign you up.
Yes.
Judy, what you requested, I'm not saying it was fair, but it certainly wasn't unfair for you to come forward. It was okay for you to come and lobby for your people. That's I guess, okay, it's fair. Certainly not unfair for you to do that. I expected some maybe other elected officials to come to us during the year and say, hey, they're leaving. We need some help. There may be other.
I did that. I did do that with the lead. I did request the extra. I compared it to a lead that started the same time, same month, same year as another lead in the collector's office. I requested the same salary, and I was asked to put it in my budget. I did that. From there, I did a lot of study on compression salaries. I have several news articles that I did cut and save. Eric beat me to it, so when I heard his pitch, I was right on board with compression. I believe it was real. I don't know how real it is today, but I did follow the stipulations and the guidelines, and so I guess what I'm saying is, if we're gonna call it a pool to fix your salaries, it should be consistent. If we're gonna call it a merit, then let's be consistent on that. I feel like my job to my employees is to treat them as fair and honest as I can. I did not divide that pool into a merit, and I feel like that, on my part, was a bad decision. So that is why I went to Debbie and requested the amendment. I think we need to be consistent. If we're going to give a merit for employees who have served the county, I believe it should be consistent across the board. And I think we need to fix it.
Well, this is only the second time I remember doing merit. I think the first time was 2014. And even at that time, there were certain elected officials who used that money to give to their favorites or whatever. It wasn't, they didn't give it all the way across the board. So, you know, that money, if you had wanted to give it all to one employee, you could have.
It wasn't a merit, it really wasn't. It was a pool of money, and it was said to them for them to fix a problem that they may have, or to give it out as you see fit.
Yeah.
So what she's talking about is the merit of the years of service.
I am. Merit of years of service. I believe, I just feel really wholeheartedly that should be including all county employees, minus your departments that have their own different salary, like EMS, sheriff. I'm not familiar with parks. Minus those departments, I am speaking about all other employees who have been committed. Dawn here, sitting here, I've known Dawn for 4 years. She's here every day. I believe she deserves a merit. In my department, I probably have 5 years, 10 years service. It's not that grand, but I know I've worked with Candace, who used to work in the recorder's office for 15 years. She's a very loyal, committed person. You can count on it. She is here every day. She is now at the collector's office, but I see her every day. She was also here when it snowed Thursday. So I don't think those employees should be excluded. I think it needs to be across board and consistent with that merit, that $100 per year for service. doesn't deserve that.
You keep saying you changed the 1.5% from a pool to a merit. How?
Yes.
How did we do that?
Because when I had my budget meeting,
That was not.
you
that-
listen
that-
to the
they-
me-
They didn't
minutes
change
on.
how it was passed, so. anyway.
Listen to the minutes on January 5th. I went back and re-listened to it to make sure I was under the impression by those minutes and by my budget hearing that we are going to give a 1.5% pool to fix your salaries.
Exactly. It was not called a merit.
It was called a pool.
Right. Not
To
a merit.
fix your salaries. 1.5%, other people used it as a merit.
That's, each department head or elected official could use it as they
So,
want. They want
for
to
the
use it as
sake
a
of
merit
arguing
or
with
whatever.
you-
But it was never called a merit. That's my point. It was never
It was
called
called
a
a merit January 17th. When in the commission meeting on January 17th, then it was called a merit. So
Just because they approved some adjustments for public works.
I'm just
you're
saying the
that changed
terminology
everything for the
changed.
whole county? Is
I'm
that what
saying
you're
if you're gonna change the terminology, then I need to understand, am I to use it as a pool to fix salaries? Or is it a merit because everyone in my office deserves that merit?
I don't
I just think we
understand how
need to be
how you
consistent.
say they changed it to a
I
merit.
listened to
It
the
never
meeting.
was.
I was in the meeting. So that's one issue. There's a threefold issue here, in my opinion, but what I am saying needs to be fixed is the $100 per year for a service award.
Okay, that's a different issue from the 1.5%.
Yes, it is,
Pool.
and that's what I'm talking about. There's more than one issue I'm speaking of. The merit or pool, my bad decision, because I understood it to be a pool to fix my salaries,
And
and I
that's
did that.
exactly what it was.
So
And that has not
going,
changed.
so going to the second issue is the 100% per year for service award.
Okay, that's a separate issue.
Yes, it is.
So it did change though for a department on last Thursday or whatever day that was. So it did change just for that department. While it stayed the same for everybody else, that it was an adjustment pool. I'm just gonna use that term loosely, adjustment pool. And it wasn't gonna fix the salaries, it was to try to help some of it if you had somebody that, somewhere along the line that the salaries got screwed up, but it did get changed. And I don't know if it's necessarily the perfect term for it is merit or not, but it did get changed for Public Works last week, so. Was it last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was?
So you're talking about the $100, which I don't think is fair either, that's why I'm here, because I don't know, I don't have anything against Public Works. I think they
Yeah, we're not here to
everything they
beat them
get,
up.
But I'm telling you that it's almost 100% men. And I have somebody in my office been working there 20 years, and she's a woman, she didn't get the raise. So is that racist?
Sexist.
Sexist, I mean, yeah, I hate to throw that up, but, you know, there's other people that worked in this county for years and years and years, they didn't get the raise. All the people in Public Works got it, why is that? I mean, all the county employees have to be treated the same. And I said that when I came in here before the budget, that we're all employees for the county, everybody's employees. If you're gonna do it for one, you gotta do it for them all. And I understand it, some people have trouble finding help, and I understand that. And I said, but, you know, I mean, I still think you need to pay everybody the same. That's all I got to say. I don't want to argue about it. I think Public Works gets what they deserve. I mean, and all the rest of us do too. You know, what happens tomorrow if all my people decide they're leaving for the state because they're getting 8% raise? Are you going to go and give me a bunch of raises? I doubt it.
Glad you could make it, Eric.
Sorry.
We're not picking on you all, it's just y'all are the ones that got yours approved, so.
I'm not either, Eric. I completely understand.
Give your taser.
Well, I was a little bit angry that it came before us 2 weeks after budget, because we should have discussed it at budget time. But the money
But
was
we all
there.
brought up more
Yeah.
money at budget time. We, you know, what we could give was reduced. And then in other times, we're told, oh, you have to wait for budget time. So I think we're a little confused as to when we can ask for raises and when we we all are having trouble filling positions. I have positions I've had since September, and we can't even get people to apply. So it is a problem countywide.
And it is, and I do understand, and I respect you for that. I know you're in a tough spot. So I would like you to think about it. I think we need to fix all other employees. That's what I'm asking. For the $100 per year of county service, I think it should be consistent and not singling out just one department.
I would tend to agree. I have questions though on how we do that too. A lot of people do get an adjustment in their salary when they take a different position too. So do you count the years in that position or the years they've been at the county? I think there's a lot to it, and we went through a lot of it at budget time, and I thought we came to a pretty good solution, and
I thought it was
everything
a
wasn't
good
equal, but
solution.
I thought it was pretty fair.
It was until it
So-
changed on the 17th.
I agree, so.
Well, I think next year, if you need, you're asking for what, we need to discuss it at budget time. We need to go over it, and
We
that's.
say that every year.
Well,
and then a week after the budget gets approved.
This year.
Yeah.
I
After
don't
the
think
budget
this
gets
needs to
approved,
be
we have somebody
tabled
on the
until next year's
agenda.
budget.
Yeah.
I have tabled
Yeah.
everything since I've been here to budget, and I get the same result. So I would like to be on the agenda every month until we find a solution for this.
You open yourself for a lawsuit. You give all these men out of public works these raises, and you got all these women working for years and years at the county. They ain't getting nothing. How many women are on here? I saw one. Double majority.
Their years of service didn't matter if they just took a new position or not. It went back to their start here. Just to answer your
Yeah, I know,
question.
but when we were talking about the per year thing, that was one of the
Yes.
things that we had to decide too, is that if you go from, engineer to director, you get a pretty good bump, but does he get to go back? Eric's been with us for a long time, so we would have still got it for the large amount of years.
I
that
think
he's
from
been with us.
where I'm sitting, if there is an issue at Public Works, that should have been resolved during his budget time. But where I'm sitting and I'm looking at stipulations that were put upon everybody else, I followed them. I'm looking at changes that were made mid-year, raises that were given. Decision on those stipulations was we'll go to 1-1 because of those bump ups. We're gonna go to 1-1 salaries. That was not followed. Now we're also gonna give a merit award of $100 per year service. That is also another decision that was made after January 5th, when I thought budget time was ended. So there's compound issues here. I mean, and like I said, I understand where you're coming from, and I respect that. And there is true compression salary issues, but why wasn't that dealt with during budget time and resolved, instead of changing everything after I'm following those stipulations? Unless I'm totally confused on how this budget information is to be followed.
Can I say something just to clarify a few things? So we presented this to the county commission while we were preparing our budget for 2023 back in August. Okay? In September, we still were working with the auditor to finalize everything. That's when they agreed to the career path, which was a promotion for various people depending on where they fit in the career path. All great, appreciated. They said, come back to us during budget time for the other items, part of our three-part plan. We did that, and there was an amount in our budget that allowed us to do what we did on the 17th, and our budget was not increased. We're still within our budget for salary, so nothing was increased to account for what we did. And there's been multiple times through the process that we presented this through preparing the budget and then also during budget hearings. So just to make sure that's clear.
So I have a reporter's fund You have a different fund. I am not allowed to use a recorder's fund for salaries, which I agree with. The fund that you had, which was used on January 17th, it was a newer fund, my understanding, and I could be wrong because I don't know. So you have that to pull from. I have a fund to pull from but can't use it. So all of the rules keep moving. It's hard to hit a moving target here. All I'm saying is that there were stipulations, they were not followed. You got a bump up, not meaning just you, but those who received a bump up in September were supposed to go to the 1/1 salary so that they didn't get an extra increase in salaries, and that stipulation was not followed. Then on top of that, the $100 per year of service award, minus a couple departments that have their own plan, EMS, sheriff, and maybe Parks Department, because I'm unfamiliar, but all other employees should receive that $100 per service award, and that's where I'm coming from.
So why shouldn't EMS and Sheriff Department receive that $100?
Because they have an extra, or they have additional budget planning that is different than I think all other county employees that they follow. And I don't know exactly all that is included. I would have to request that from Debbie.
And I didn't want to get into this. but
So we
you
did
guys-
make an adjustment though for EMS to get that once they hit their, I think it's a 7-year threshold. So we have made adjustments for other areas, not just public works. That's just the most recent one. So we have made some adjustments for other ones, and we did a mid-year adjustments for some of your deputies and stuff
Absolutely.
last year and stuff. So, and I think the deal is here, if we went through the budget, and then Sheriff, you came to us on January 17th and asked for some more adjustments, and we did things completely different than what we talked about
If
in
you
a
did.
budget,
Oh, yeah.
I think I would have an issue as well. I mean, I would have an
The
issue.
only thing, and I'm just gonna throw this out there, what you guys did was the 1.5% pool money. And we actually argued about what we call it, because it was said merit, and then Jeff said, I said compression, and Jeff said, if you say compression again, you're gonna throw me out or something. So then we went with the 1.5% pool, right? And then you said, after the budget is done, if you feel like you want to adjust your salaries more, you can come back before the commission. You said that. And that's what he did.
I feel like I need
Well,
to
everybody
adjust
can do
my
that.
salaries more.
And I'm not opposed to that, and I especially Christie, I mean, she's got, how those positions been open, how long?
Well, one since September, one since December.
Yeah, so, I mean, absolutely, I get that. But I mean, I think you do the budget adjustment, you don't reopen anything, but you do a budget, you come in and ask for a budget adjustment, but I don't know, I gotta be with Harry on this, I don't think that the reason should be, everybody else got it, I need it. I mean, I think you can come up with clarification, I think you can come up with ammunition to back that up.
Yeah, which I had.
When we talked numbers 2 weeks ago, I think it was, we looked at the final budget numbers for Public Works. And we looked at the budget lines in there, and then we looked at what Public Works was asking for. Everything they were asking for, if granted, and was granted, still fit inside the budget numbers. It did not, we didn't bust the budget 2 weeks ago. We stayed within the budget. Now, we stayed within the budget by them using terms like whatever they were used, merit or service or $100 a year was, bantied about and, let's say, adopted, but we didn't change the budget to send more money to Public Works. It stays within the budget as was published and adopted 2 weeks before that.
But didn't you say like they had a reserve fund for salary? So then, my question was, well, how much of the general revenue reserve fund is allocated for the health department? Because, there's two issues, rewarding long-time employees, but also, increasing starting salaries
There's
too.
3 separate ones, if I'm not mistaken. General and Public Works had theirs, and then the assessment fund.
Right,
yeah.
so how much
So-
can we come and ask for our staff to get new staff and retain the ones we have?
Because that's basically what they had to use. They
Right.
had to use that salary.
That's what they dipped
reserve.
into
And
as
Yeah.
part of
those
that.
are transfers that I put in front of you guys to sign out of that reserve account into their salary line. And that's what Judy's saying, I guess use our salary reserve to do the $100 per year service like you did for Public Works.
That's not gonna help attract new staff. That's a separate issue.
Could be part of it, yes. Yes, and then address.
But
I
that
mean,
money
it's a
is there,
small
you
amount.
could use it, and, I mean, I could make the motion today to do that, that would do it, but I'm not doing that. I refuse to, and part of the reason is that's there for correcting some stuff when we get to the middle of the year. If all of a sudden we can't keep up in a certain area and we need to make some adjustments to find some more clerks for the recorder's office, and we gotta make some adjustments there.
Well, that's what it was for Public Works too.
For everybody, correct.
But to fix problems, but it wasn't used for that.
But
It
then we
was-
went to the years of service.
Right.
Then we changed it back to based on their January, or to their current salary instead of January 1. So I guess everybody needs to go work for Public Works. Eric's better at arguing.
Well, the public safety issue.
Does the county pay for CDL? I go get my CD.
Yes, we do now.
Okay.
We provide the training.
However, you have to sign a 3-year commitment to stay with us, or you have to pay it back.
Do I get
So
paid?
we
We
do.
need to get, we need to
there-
keep, yeah.
There is
But
the
it did not
reserve
fix
fund.
their starting salaries.
That's what we put in there.
So,
You know, back to, just,
that was,
just circle back on one of the things of, the 4% in some cases wasn't applied to the beginning salary, but the ending salary. We're talking about $50, $60, $70, $80 result as annual, okay? So if we want to sit here and talk about somebody is getting $80 too much in calendar year '23, more than they deserve, count me out of that discussion, all right? That's just too small of peanuts to worry about. You get to a de minimis amount, and everyone has got a different amount of what's the definition of minimis. But I'm not here to argue about somebody getting paid $80 too much a year.
That's not the argument, sir.
Well, you brought it up. You're the one that say, look, we didn't do it on their end,
No, I'm
on
saying
their
more
beginning.
consistent to all employees.
Okay.
and the
That's what I
consistent-
brought up. It doesn't matter if it's 1 peanut or 2 peanuts. I don't think employees look at it that way. I understand when you're a mathematician, as you are, and you want to move them from one column to the next, I understand that. I do respect that, but that's not how it's looked at.
If you're only making 30 peanuts, that 1 peanut makes a lot more difference than it does to
And
the
that's
people
where I'm
making
coming from.
60 peanuts. So, I
Yes.
mean, that little bit does make a difference to everybody, and maybe it's not
I think
the
it's a
money per se,
morale
it's the
issue
morale
too.
being
It's not
treated
just a
differently.
peanut, it's the morale issue of the other employees.
The idea behind my suggesting we go to that beginning salary was someone in some department got a $5,000 raise in July. 4% of $5,000 is $200. So let's don't give them that $200. Let's let that manager, elected official, have that $200 over here and decide how to spend that within their employee group. That's where that came from.
We need to really keep moving on, because we're
I will
going
let
to be
you
talking
move on,
about
but
this.
I do
Yeah.
would like some consideration
Yes.
on the $100 per year service.
Okay.
I think that should be considered, and I would like a requisition. I'd like to redo what I submitted. I did not use it as a merit, and everybody in the recorder's office deserves a merit. So I will leave it at that. I would like a decision on that. But I thank you for your time, and I do understand where you're coming from. But the appearance of what this was, this is how I understood it.
So if you do that 1.5% across the board, then are you gonna?
Then I'm gonna come
we've already
back
had
and
a-
ask that you fix my
We've
lead
already had a
salary.
salary payroll pulled out of that one time, so somebody's gonna take a pay cut, right?
Well,
Over
I'm gonna
years,
come back
right?
and ask that you fix my lead salary
So-
and make it consistent with what you had done for someone else.
I guess you can do that. I'm just saying,
I-
if you go back, somebody's gotta take a pay cut if you go and make it a 1.5%.
Yeah,
But
you're
even
right.
if it's a merit, it doesn't have to be the same all the way across that 1.5%. You can still get more to one or the other.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks.
Approval of tractor mower for Parks Department.
Okay, so we've actually been looking at getting a tractor going back to the first year that I became director to replace the current 1998 John Deere 4100 that we're using in parks. It's also used by facilities maintenance for helping to plow snow during the winter downtown. So this new tractor, it's with Heritage Tractor. The cost is $28,630.71, and it's within the budget for the 806-94111 park improvements budget. We had $30,000 in there for that. This is a 2023. It's a 4x4 with a 72-inch mower deck. It will not have a plow for snow removal. We'll continue to use the current tractor the remainder of this year and decide at the end of the year what to do with that, depending on where things go with the prospect of us taking over mowing for county facilities, and also there's been discussion about snow removal. So we can make that determination at a later date, but this is to purchase this new tractor, and again, it will be used in parks, primarily out at County Park. If we do take the jump and do the Wren Park out in the Elston area, it would be used there as well. We'll need something a little heavier duty out there for the time being as we're building that park out. So again, this goes back a few years when we've been talking about it, and we've been pushing it off to try to get some more life out of the current tractor, but it's time to replace it. So I'd recommend approval. There is a proposal or a quote from Heritage Tractor. It's in the information that I sent. I will note that the quote includes the 2 mower decks, and it's got it totaled. We'll just take the 1 mower deck, the 72-inch, and so I've written on there what the totals are for that. And it is on state contract, and Jessica's reviewed it and approved it.
So how quickly will we get this tractor?
We're thinking May, latter part of April, early May. They don't have as big of a lead time on tractors as we do dump trucks and motor graders and pickup trucks. Luckily.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the tractor mower for the Parks Department with the 72-inch mower deck.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Again, that's just, I just wrote that by hand, so I think we'll sign that.
Sign it. Okay, signing of surplus titles.
These are 2 ambulances that were the trade-in on the 3 that we got. Actually picking up the other 2 here. I just gave in the check this morning, so, and we did get our check on those 3 trade-ins.
Okay, I'll make a motion to sign the surplus titles on the 2 ambulances.
Yes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we are going to table the signing of soil and water conservation court order for 2023. I thought you were waiting for the very last one before I go into close. No, okay, next. First reading of budget adjustment number 3.
This is for $9,963. This is the law enforcement center. This is no action today. Sorry, this is on the local, what is this? The Mustang grant. So I'll bring it back up in 10 days.
Okay. Okay. Signing of 2023 State Drug Task Force Grant Award.
So we're looking for this grant, we got it, it was for $119,000, $107,000. This one we put in for the original, has to come back to us, ma'am. Says it right there. I'm not sure why, but Betsy put it on there. It's going to be for lots of different projects, so it's not just for one item. None of it is going towards personnel.
I'll make a motion to sign the 2023 State Drug Task Force Grant Award.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Letter agreement from Union Pacific for the multimodal transload facility.
Sam, we'll need to table this till the next agenda. I had hoped that we'd have the agreement here by this time, kind of put it on the agenda in hopes that we'd have it, but we don't.
Okay.
This will just be part of the process to get UP approval to move forward with our project. A couple meetings this week to update city staff on the project and also update city council and mayor. And then next Tuesday, we have an update. Luke Holzmeyer will be here to update the commission on where we stand on the project. But
This doesn't impact the Indiana bat issue, right?
Done with that. We're moving on. to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Contractors started on the clearing, and they'll have that done well within the time frame needed, so.
Just in time for the Eskimo bats to move in.
Always something.
Okay. Do we? I think that's everything. Do we have anything else before we go into closed session?
Don't think so.
I'll make a motion pursuant to Section 610.021 of the revised statutes of Missouri. The commission will go into closed session to discuss the following: real estate under 610.021 subsection 2.
Second.
All, or roll call?
Sam,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.